So just maybe another 30 seconds, and then we can give Brianna an opportunity to share about herself. Brianna, thank you for joining us. I wanted to give you a moment to introduce yourself, share a little bit about why you're interested in joining the Community Advisory Board, and then we'll allow the subcommittee members to ask any questions.
Great. Thank you guys so much for inviting me and allowing me to be a part of this meeting. My name is Bree Luca. I am a reentry coach at the Reentry Success Center. I've lived in Contra Costa County my whole life. Recently, I graduated with my master's in legal and forensic psychology, and that's where I really found my interest and passion for reentry services and working within that field. Why I want to be part of the Community Advisory Board is, again, I believe in giving back to my community that gave me so much. I've been able to receive such hands-on experiences and knowledge that I wouldn't have received anywhere else through this role. And I see where the gaps in services are, as well as the strengths. And I just want to be part of the change in supporting justice-impacted individuals in our county.
And a side note, I've worked with Brianna a few times at the Reentry Success Center. She's pretty great.
Oh, nice. I second that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so we don't need to ask her any questions. We've seen her work.
We've seen her work, but feel free to ask any questions.
I guess one of the questions, hello, Bree, nice to see you. I'm Alexandria. I thank you for being with us. I guess one of my questions is, having been at the Reentry Success Center and being so close, what are some of the gaps that stand out the most to you? Which ones kind of drive you insane? And what creative thoughts kind of come to mind when you think of those gaps?
Housing and mental health, 100%. The biggest thing that I studied during my master's program was looking at research on what element or domain is the most impactful in decreasing recidivism, and it was housing. So just finding a stable place for anyone, not just people on probation, parole, but any justice impacted individuals, is very difficult, let alone given the current housing crisis that we are in and the rates of California. When it comes to mental health, I know we always talk about dual diagnosis, and just how these individuals need additional support. And we just don't have those providers or partners anymore like we may have had a few years ago.
I want to retract my quest for another question.
Okay, no problem. If there are no other questions from the board, I would ask you, Brianna, do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, so what, I know most of you, luckily, but what drives you guys in your work that we do?
Knows you two, or you?
I mean, I can answer because I know we've worked together. drives me in my work with being on the board or just in general. It's kind
Both.
of twofold. Both, yeah, I've had shared with the board previously, like my mother worked for the county and I saw firsthand as a psychiatric nurse, um, how having services or lack of access can really impact an individual's success in terms of whether it's transitioning from homelessness to sustainable housing and work, and also seeing like the transformation of people who are struggling maybe with substance abuse or just life in general, because it can be very hard, how having the different resources in the county can really help someone succeed. But I also have seen just in my own work, working at the community colleges with students who come from various backgrounds, what it means to have someone who can support you and advocate you and help you navigate those services. But then the flip side of how hard it can be as an individual trying to navigate those services on their own. And I've always viewed myself as sort of like a student advocate and working with formerly incarcerated students or just as impacted. That's what motivates me, working with them day to day and seeing what their challenges are and being able to amplify what their needs and are to help them be successful is sort of what drives me to do the work.
Wonderful.
Anyone else want to share?
I can share. I guess for me, it's the daily achievements, the pride that comes with that, because usually we see folks coming into the doors of any program, you see the defeated look, the shoulders are low or too high up by their ears, and little by little, by their small achievements and continual achievements, right, through the programs and resources that we're providing, you see their back start to straighten up, their eyes lift up, they start looking you in the eye and talking to you, getting a job, securing permanent housing and so on and so forth. I live for that. That's just like, that's that good feeling that brings me back to work because it's not the pay. So I think it's just seeing another human being be the best person that they can be, and know that I had a little raindrop of to do with that. So that's what it does it for me.
That's beautiful. I have teary eyes right now. I don't know why, just thinking about the passion of this work. I serve as the chaplain at the juvenile hall here in Martinez. And for me, growing up with a mother who worked youth services for the Oakland Police Department, the missing persons unit. I don't think I've even shared this with this group yet. But she did missing youth, and I saw the impact on the families, on just their communities. Like, where are these children? And then being a chaplain and going and seeing, oh, this is where the children are, and then being able to encourage them and be that drop of rain in the world that bring a spark or lift them up and see them transform from their downcast looks to saying their Black History Month speech with pride and loud voice because they've gained some confidence just because somebody listened to them, because most people don't listen to children. So that kind of drives me. And then just the possibilities of all of our minds being together to get them going and keep them going, keep them out of isolation. That really drives me to do this work. And yeah, organizing is fun, and being out there and just what else can we do to support one another?
You guys.
Yeah. Any other follow-up questions you have for us, Bree?
I think that's it for me.
Okay. So this concludes your interview. We are going to make a recommendation to the larger CAB group, but you are free to go for the rest of your day. And yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you guys so much.
Sorry.
Thank you.
You're
thank
welcome.
you.
And just Garyana will follow up with you with next steps.
Wonderful. Thank you for your time.
Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Chair, just to let you know, this is a voting item, so I still need
Yes.
a motion.
I was going to ask for one. So we would need to, well, I have a question. Can we also, never mind, it would be a second motion. So for agenda item number 4, is there a motion to consider Brianna Luca's application and forwarding it to the larger cab advisory for approval? Did I say that right? I know it was a mouthful. So is there a motion to approve Brianna's application to go to the full cab board?
Motion to approve?
And there's a second.
Second.
So I have a motion by Glory Bell and a second by Alexandria.
Do we take Nicole's vote too, or no? Oh.
Hi, Nicole.
Fly on the
So,
wall.
Oh, fly on the wall, that's
fly on
right.
the wall. Yeah, she's flying on the wall today. So we have a motion by Gloria Bell and a second from Alexandria. Can we have a vote for agenda item number 4?
Yes.
Thank you.
Demetria, how do you vote?
Yes.
Alexandria?
Yes, I.
King Louisville.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And can I have a motion to table Larry Graham's application until he attends a meeting?
Yes, I make a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nicole. I didn't ask for public comment.
I'm not the public.
You're not the public.
You're fly on the wall.
I didn't even look up. Did you have a comment?
I was like, sure, you see me. No, I was gonna say for Larry Graham, we had invited him already several times. So at this particular time, I'm asking you guys if he's interested, and I asked Garyana, I think he should reapply at that time because Garyana has reached out to him several times. So I don't think we should be going back to beg for someone to
The
come.
table.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the clarification. So can we have if there is anyone willing to make a motion to remove Larry Graham's application from the membership pool, and if he follows up that we would like him to reapply? That was a lot.
Or can we just decline? Okay,
So that's kind of what I was thinking. Can we just deny his application on the basis that he has not?
Yeah, the first time
followed up?
ever this happened. So can we deny Garyana?
We don't need to take a
Okay,
not move forward.
we don't need to take a
Yeah,
vote.
if the consensus amongst the subcommittee is for him to reapply, then that could be his next step, and I could reach out to him and explain that.
Okay, and then that'll be recorded on the
Yeah.
list. Okay.
I consent.
So we are all in agreement that Larry Graham will need to reapply since there's been several attempts to get him to the meeting. Thank you. All right, moving right along to agenda item number 5, our subcommittee work plan. And there are attachments inside. I'm gonna go here in my notes because I put stuff up. So we had an opportunity during the retreat to look over the work plan from 2024, as well as sort of establish goals for our next current year that we're in, 2025. So in the handout, we have the work plan from 2024, and on the back page, the priorities from our planning retreat for the Community Advisory Board. On the priorities for 2025, we have OCEC will come up with an early strategy and calendar for the ambassador meetings, as well as prioritize external meetings and community outreach, as well as developing materials. And then on page 18 and 19, we have the work plan that was created for this committee in 2024, which lists the tasks, the outcomes, the timeline, and responsible persons and resources for that. And so for this agenda item, we are to kind of review everything to set our work plan, looking at what's been accomplished in 2024, our priorities for 2025, and then developing a work plan for our subcommittee. For example, one of the things that I noticed that on the 2024 work plan that's ongoing is the interview and prospective new CAB members with applicants. There's not really much there to change other than I did ask in the planning meeting for previous questions to be shared. And I'm wondering if we can, I hate to say put together a packet, but some sort of task list of when we have applicants that include the questions, if they don't follow up, like recommendations of suggestions for the situation. Because I know there were also questions previously about best ways to interview applicants. We also had talked about in other meetings, maybe we have the person come to the meeting and like we did with Brianna, just list them after the interview so that we can talk amongst ourselves, but it is still a public meeting. So I thought it might be good, even though this is an ongoing thing to interview people, but maybe come up with like a task list of the best ways or best practices when interviewing folks for CAB.
I agree, because I would like to see a standardized list of questions, not that we have to go, like, we could have 5. We don't have to hit all 5. Maybe they already answered some of that during their application and just kind of get more in depth, because on the fly, it's kind of a little different, you know what I mean? So I think that would be extremely helpful.
I think that's a good idea.
Yes, having witnessed a few of them back to back.
Haven't experienced one.
And-
I was shocked that I didn't get the questions. I was like, oh, okay, I'm way over there.
Right, and especially when you know folks and people know your work, it's like, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
And still want to have a
Public
questions
record
for
of-
public
yeah.
record that we fully vetted and asked some questions. I pulled up and made a list of some
nice.
that I can like email to the group, and then we can,
Do those.
yeah, see yes or no. They're just like AI generated based on all of our information. But we can also for definitely look at what they've used in the past, more tailored if necessary or what they've experienced. So yes.
Like that.
To add, to avoid, violating the Brown Act issue, you cannot send it to the subcommittee, but you can send it to me.
Yes.
And I will include both documents, because, ORJ also has a list of CAB interview questions, and I can include that document and the one that Alexandria shares with me and the CAB drive, and then you all can work on it simultaneously.
I like that.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. That's perfect. Can we agree to take a look at that for the next meeting in March?
Yes.
To make any edits and suggestions? Perfect. That's one action item. Any thoughts or comments from the public, AKA Nicole, fly on the wall?
Say that again. You went out.
I was just asking if you had any thoughts or comments on standardizing the interview process.
So,
Go ahead.
no, I just had a follow-up question. Any of us could send the because I have a couple questions that I think I would.
Yeah, send them to Brianna.
Yeah,
Yes.
and then I'll circulate.
Still learning processes. Thank you, ladies.
What kind of questions are y'all sending out?
Questions for the interview for applicants for CAB.
Okay. So you're putting,
Having a
go ahead.
So having a standardized list, not that we have to ask every single one, but just so we have something in front of us, so when we are interviewing the person, we can pick from those questions and actually have a discussion with the candidate.
No, the only reason I was asking, because I'm a true believer in trying to make Garyana's life a tad bit better. So a lot of folks have been using the share live document. I don't know if that'll be beneficial to you all.
Share alive.
The Google in our share drive so that you have a document where you.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what Gary.
That's what we're talking about.
I couldn't hear.
Oh.
I didn't want to lie, but like, yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, so we're talking
We have-
about creating a standardized process for interviews and including questions.
Yeah, that was
And then
last
the
part I
group can
heard was
choose from the
standardized, and
questions.
then it went away. So yes, you are a remarkable group of women on here. So I'm a fly on the wall right now. So, but yes.
Would be the cutoff date to send it to you.
Your next meeting is
March
March
25th.
25th, and I will have to post the agenda by the 18th. So if you can get it to me no later than the 14th or the 17th, that would be.
So Keith, the only feedback I have,
10.
Right, I know.
Because I know
I
me.
wrote. Go ahead, Nicole.
the only feedback I have for you all as you're working on this is think of your timeline. Um, Keep in mind, when you have your individual meetings, when we have the full board meeting, when some things we need to go back in front of the full board, like when you put these questions together and you all agree on them, then we'll need to go back in front of the full board so that we can give our feedback and approval on them from there as well. So just keep that in mind on when do you think we're going to start to reach out to those county those district individuals, because I know that we agree. Well, it was discussed, and you are more than welcome to change it. Believe like before the summer, I think, and then our CBOs closer to the end of the year, I believe. Um, but to put that timeline out there, we normally try to get started on these around August sometime. Um, when we used to reach out to everybody at one time. So I would just keep a timeline in the back of your heads when you guys are doing this and coming up with these questions and working this out.
Sounds good. Thank you. Um, so it sounds like one of the items for our work plan is to standardize the interview process and questions. And that goes along with what we had listed in task 4 of our work plan in 2024. The other thing that we have in here ongoing around the community outreach piece is identify and log the county and city boards commissions, their meetings, when to seek community input, concern, and recommendations for reentry services. And this is also something outgoing, but this was listed to start in May. So that's kind of the calendar that I believe you're talking about, Nicole, is us looking at to start reaching out in terms of community outreach in May. And then developing a calendar of when to reach out to the community for engagement. We should also include not only just informing them about the work of CAB, but actively seeking applications, since that's something we do all the time. But also this part under task number 3, the monthly visits to participate to other means in the county. As well as coordinate the CAB ambassador meetings with the Board of Supervisors and the CCP members. So I know like Jill was suggesting that we start doing those meetings in March. So that would be this next month, basically. Go ahead, Nicole.
No, you can finish your thought first. I can wait till you're done.
I was gonna say, I recall Jill suggesting that we start doing the calls in March. I forgot, sorry. I had thought about all of this. Now I'm like in the meeting and forgot everything.
No, it's okay. So two things. Yeah, Jill recommended March. What she was recommending is going out to our district leaders to kind of get their feedback on gaps or things that they may want us to work on, because we do not know what our recommendations for 2025 is yet, right? So it's more of a conversation of what are they seeing going on within the district and kind of get their feedback. And then you guys can bring that back to CAT, which will help us frame the work that we're doing and our recommendations. Then around July or so, we will then reach out to, like we always do, our CBOs, some other, not our CBOs, excuse me, the other partners on the list, and then back to our district leaders, because then around that time frame, we should have an idea on what our recommendations are. So her recommendation was to really start that conversation, hear from the district leaders, like where their mind is in reference to the justice involved population and where they can see majority of the work to be. That was the feedback that she had gave. And then what I was going to tell you all is I know that Marcus did an amazing job and the rest of OCEC outlining these tasks. You can also reword this stuff, right? So if you want to take a look at any of these tasks and you feel like they can be switched around or reworded, you all are welcome to do that.
I do have a question about the initial, the idea behind meeting people in March to get their feedback to develop our work plan. can we think about doing it more efficiently, such as collecting their feedback in surveys? Because one of the things that I noticed is how time consuming it was and how tough it was to schedule with everyone. And so I'm just kind of thinking through like feedback can be done through a survey, no more than like 5 minutes, where part of it is giving a recap of what we've done so far and then asking their feedback to help us strategically plan for the future or where are they seeing issues. And then maybe if they haven't responded, then let's call them to remind them to do the survey. I just remember like Brandon and I were teamed up to meet with somebody and they scheduled, canceled, and then at no point they never followed up. And then it was the end of the year and
Well-
we never had an opportunity to give them an update.
How in-depth are the questions that we're asking? And if it's something that may need interaction, it's a little harder, you know what I mean? So just.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I was hoping to get some feedback and input on, like, I know there's a template in because it's two-prong approach. Go ahead, Nicole.
I don't like cutting y'all off. So, you will not have to do that deep script that we gave you guys. So remember, there's only four. There's Chanel, Ken, Diane, what's the other two, Yariana? Our district, no, Joya.
You're talking about the supervisors.
Right,
Joya
so the
Joya Anderson, the one that was just appointed.
Chanel, yes. So,
Or,
so the goal is in the March. Well, I still think March is too soon, but the goal was only to reach out to them. So it's not the other ones. The other people were the programs were the ones that were hard to get to. So we were just talking about those individuals to get their feedback. They're very responsive. They love to give feedback to CAB. I don't
Are.
think that you all will have any issues with reaching out to them, but I don't think you should use that long-winded script either. It's simply just like you said, if you want, they're very familiar in reference to the work that we've done. Because I had a couple of them, and my ambassador things got done. So they're very familiar with our AB 109 one time ask. They're very familiar with everything up to date because we've been able to get calls with them. So it's more of what do they see us doing this year? Like what would they want us to knowing what we did, and you can recap how we allocated the 15 million, the priorities that we're focusing on based on what they're seeing in the community, not just with the AB 109, but the things that are taking place. What is their feedback for CAP?
So part of it would be asking their feedback, but then also sharing out, here are the priorities we developed during our retreat. What are your thoughts and feedback on that as well?
That's a great idea. Yeah, that's a great idea. This is our focus for 2025.
Sorry, I'm still trying to understand the reasoning and the thought process from reaching out. So this is simply to get the Board of Supervisors input so that we can continue planning. Like, are
Correct.
they seeing gaps and things like that?
Correct.
Okay. So it's good to know we don't have to do that script, but then it does mean drafting up questions to ask them to get their feedback on. And knowing that we're gonna have to provide Supervisor Scales Preston or Preston Scales?
Skills, Kristen.
Scales Preston, kind of an overview
Mm-hmm.
of what we've done so that she can provide some input since she's fairly new. She's new to her role.
She may be the only one that needs that full I would think also that needs that full detail. The other ones they're completely aware, especially with all the work that we did last year. And I'll tell you now, you're going to have some great conversations. They give a lot of feedback and input, especially on the work that we do. And especially in reference to their district and what they're seeing. So it's going to be, we always walk away. I can tell you I have because I've had a few meetings with a few of them and I love doing the ambassadors with them. You get a lot of good information back.
Could we send a informational sheet, so to speak? Because what we already had from our retreat explains what we did last year. So, hey, we're gonna come see you. This is what we did a year in review, and we'd like to discuss it. So that way they're kind of aware, and also she can kind of catch up.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good idea because that's what I was thinking of, how to make sure that they know what we've done so they can provide their feedback and input on and then make it a really quick call. I see we have a question from the public. Hi.
Hi, my name's Larry Graham, and I was here because I was seeking a position on CAB. And wasn't that part of this meeting here today? I was curious.
So we've actually moved on from that agenda item. We are on agenda item number 5.
Oh,
And so you'll be contacted about next steps regarding the interview
oh,
and
okay.
your application.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I do like the idea of maybe putting together a tip sheet to seek their input and feedback. So it's an informed conversation and it gives them an opportunity to think through. That just means we have to sort of work to create some questions. And I know we were just saying it was in we had some things from our priorities that we developed in the retreat, those questions that were on that spreadsheet. I know what you're talking about, but I'm like, I can't find it right now. I know I have it saved here. Just looking really quick for the retreat.
I think it would be, okay, ambassadors. Quite know what I'm looking for in order to help you find it.
I just realized I don't have a copy of it. It was from our retreat, the documents that we use as a handout to provide us with a summary of what has happened, using that to develop sort of a fact sheet for our calls with the Board of Supervisors. I do have a question of clarity, maybe Nicole. It does say in here, Board of Supervisors and CCP executive members. Is the thought to also get feedback from them?
I would just say, say that again. You said CCP and who else?
So in the work plan from 2024, task force to coordinate with the Board of Supervisors and CCP to create a two-way channel for sharing information. So we would be contacting the Board of Supervisors and folks from CCP.
So for CCP, it's just the chief. And CCP members in order.
Chief Livingston.
No, Elsa, chief executive membership in order to create a two-way channel for sharing. I'm not sure where the thought process with CCP was when that was created. I do understand the Board of Supervisors because that's our district leaders, but with CCP, again, we constantly give presentations to them. Information is shared with CCP, with the chief, through RJ. I'm not sure where that came from. I know the focus was to initially start off with the Board of Supervisors.
Yeah,
Those are
because
our county district leaders.
okay. So let's just focus on the Board of Supervisors. And then, because I would have to look back at the notes from this, but where this was like developed to understand that. And so what we would,
Sorry.
I'll go ahead, Nicole, I'm sorry.
No, because I was going to say, when it comes to CCP, we have a way of sharing information between CAB and them already. If there's something
Right.
that comes up from our meeting that we need to share as CCP, that will be communicated to them. And then we will get an item on the agenda, you know? So I think it's the Board of Supervisors, unless you see some other notes from one of the meetings that Mark had a notation of why. That's just my personal opinion. Seems like extra work to add in the CCP on there.
Yes. Larry, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just, since I'm new here, I was just curious if I could, if I could know people's names here. That's possible.
You would like for us to introduce ourselves?
Well, just so I can know who's talking. I don't know. I don't know anybody here. This is my first time going to a CAB meeting. I serve on the PAB, so I'm more familiar with people on the PAB, but this is my first time coming here.
So that actually, we'll finish this agenda item and then we'll go back and introduce ourselves because we did that at the beginning of the meeting.
All right. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Uh-huh. So, I wanted to hear feedback from you two
Mhm.
about taking the tip sheet from the retreat that gave an overview of everything, and then using our ambassador program member assignments on page 25 to start out to our board of supervisors, but it looks like we also need to update this document before we can do that because we still have Marcus's name and Brenda's name here as part of OCEC, and we need to update Federal Glover. The assignments would stay the same, and then we also need to add Gloria Bell to this list and remove Marcus. And so Gloria Bell, we use these assignments. You'll see everybody's name here in the committee, and then there's someone listed as like first, second, or third. The first person would take the lead in reaching out to the individual listed at the top and select members. And then the second or third person would join the first person who reached out in a call with the appropriate board member or community rep during the ambassador's call. So we can use this same list in reaching out to the board of supervisors, but we would need to add you to the list and update this. And so can we make changes and then bring it to CAB for them to update new members at the next meeting?
Yeah, I
Oh,
can
you have to go
update
to
the assignment letter and then share it.
Okay, and I'm sorry.
Updates you're looking for is removing Marcus and Jeffrey from the list and adding, is there any other additional updates? Oh, and then adding,
Yeah,
is there any
adding,
other updates?
we would add Scales Preston for number 5, District 5, and then understanding committee assignments, OCEC, we need to update the members list there. And I'm sorry, Laura Bell, you had a question?
You already answered it, actually.
Okay. Okay, so we'll bring that, Gariana will update that so that the CAB board can review it and we can officially sign you. Would it just, I don't know if we want to assign you as first though.
Need to also update programs and services and policy and budget.
Oh, yeah, we
Those
would,
changes there too.
you're right. So all the standing committee assignments need to be changed. And then you can be first, okay, because that's what I was gonna say, didn't want to throw Gloria Bell out in the first
No.
on those. So,
I mean, public presentations are what I do, so I'm
okay,
not shy, but.
you're not shy, right?
But I'd like to see one at least.
Yeah. Because oh, and Jeffrey didn't have any, so that makes that easy. It's just because we would need to rearrange who Marcus was listed first with.
The district attorney and probation and Anderson and
And
Burgess.
Burgess, okay.
I'll second or all third?
Are you saying, Alexandra, that you're gonna take the number ones that Marcus had under Board of Supervisors, Anderson and Burgess?
I can.
Okay, and then we can have, yeah, you, Gloria Bell, move to second, so that would be an easy switch.
And I could keep first for,
The district attorney,
yeah, because by that time,
you'll have some
I would,
experience.
yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I'll be fine with that.
And are you okay with keeping the first with probation also?
Absolutely.
Okay, got that, Gariana?
I can take a picture of it, but I just want to make sure the subcommittee is mindful that if you guys do meetings together, that will create a quorum. Then that means we would have to notify the public, because then it would officially be a public meeting, so you guys actually can't meet them together.
So if the two of them met, oh, that's right, because it's only three of us.
Yeah.
Woo, okay.
Got it.
And then I can't even do second. So then we would have to move you to, you would have to be second with someone other than Alexandria and myself. Okay.
The second, someone from either budget or programs.
Or programs, yeah. We can still have Alexandria be first for Anderson and Burgess. And then maybe ask someone from policy and budget and programs and services to be the second.
Can we create an agenda item for the next meeting to get volunteers from one of the other subcommittees to be second?
Yeah, so, what I'm hearing you say is like you want an agenda item at the full CAB meeting? to
Yes.
discuss this.
Yes.
Yes.
I give
Is that what we could at least get the 4?
Hi, Nicole.
I give y'all some feedback just from my previous experience. I would say drop people where you think they should go. Because if you just say give me a recommendation, a lot of people kind of stand back or want to raise their hand and volunteer. So I would say put them where you think they should go and then say, hey, here's where I put you. Do you like it?
Okay.
Either the volunteer.
Yeah, and then give some feedback on all the ones that are second and third. That was because Demetria, because everyone came at the end of the year. So those were all our new people that came. So some of them can go up to first, but if you don't push them to do it, they won't do it. I'm just being honest.
Right.
And I could jump in wherever y'all want to put me. I really don't care. I've done it for years, so wherever y'all, I'm open. I will tell you the hard ones that we don't get a response from is court. You'll hear from H3, Behavioral Health, District Attorney, EHSD. Leah, probation is the chief. Sheriff's office is a hit and miss. Public defender, and then we always usually hear from the board of supervisors. But the courts have been really hard to get in contact with.
It's the only one that looks like we really need to work on is who Alexandria was assigned for. I'm just trying to make sure I'm looking at this right. Yeah. With the two supervisors, because she's second. So she's gonna take Marcus had. And that's where there's overlap. So
I just need a second.
yeah, she just needs a second. So I hear, yeah, I don't know how we should do that because
Well,
her second can't be myself or Glory Bell, so that's where we're having trouble. Did you have a comment, Larry?
Tracy doesn't have,
Go ahead. Oh, Tracy doesn't have a
Tracy
second.
doesn't have, but
A board, a BOS. Right, I see that. Yes,
Yeah.
hi.
Hi, yeah, I think that's incredibly important to help people. You know, it's like making people feel welcome and making sure that services get to those that need them. I know for me, at least, I've always had difficulty feeling welcome in different spaces, but whenever you get that support, it really makes people come out of their shell, and sometimes it surprises people at how much they can help the community. Like, for example, my interaction with Rubicon, they were able to use those resources and help me move forward in my life. And especially with, I recognize Gloria Bell there. She even played a huge part in me getting a job. I actually got that job, by the way, Gloria Bell, with Bybet. And thank you for that. So it's really important to encourage people to move forward in the right direction. And thank you.
Thanks, Larry. So back onto the topic of the ambassador program member assignments, it looks like we could recommend that we put Tracy as the second for Anderson and Burgess. And as it was suggested, let's move her there and then during the full cab, just see if she likes the changes we made. Yes, Nicole?
No, never mind. I'll go with that. I thought you were just trying to find somebody for Alexandria, so I was just going to raise my hand and volunteer.
Oh,
Okay.
no, I think we got it
Yeah, Alexandra's taking first,
first.
and then since Tracy doesn't have any of the supervisors, she could second.
And then
So that way
that's
it can
it.
create quorum.
Yes.
Okay.
And then,
Quiet. I'll just try to throw my hat in there and be helpful.
Thank
and
you.
then so Gloria Bell will need you to look at a supervisor where we're not listed as a second or a third.
Uh, Goya, but that Tiffany and Brenda have that.
That's okay. We can put you down as a third.
And then Marcus and Alexandra has their own pictures. Justin and, oh, to be sure you're there. So Carlson, it looks like is the. You.
Yeah, I have, how about you do the third? So that way, instead of me having three, there's two, and you can do Glover or now Preston.
That'll work.
Yes. Got it.
Okay.
So scales Preston. Do you need us to repeat that?
So
Ariana?
far the changes I have, Alexandria is going to do first for Anderson and Burgess. We're going to do second for Anderson and Burgess, and Glorabel's going to do third for Preston and yeah. So does that mean everybody else is going to stay the same?
Correct.
Okay.
So Glory Bell is gonna do third for Goya and then second for Glover, and you'll remove me from the third of Glover.
Yeah, and, remove,
Glover's name.
yes, question about Tracy's. So since she's doing the second for Anderson and Burgess, is she no longer the second for EHSD in the public defender?
That part we can, oh, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. I think we're gonna say the same thing. It was the only recommendation was to change the board of supervisors to update that part, yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh, then we weren't on the same one.
Okay.
I was wondering about her third place position at court. See, with the two additional, she then has 5 assignments. So I was wondering if that might be, although I know that court is one that's designated as a hard one. I don't, do we want to take her off of third?
And put Glory Bell.
Just release her from that space?
We can add Glory Bell to those because Glory Bell doesn't have a CCP.
Or at least a 3, but kind of balance her out. So Tracy be like, how?
But didn't you say that you were okay with like the sheriffs also?
Yeah.
So yeah, that actually would work.
As long as I get to see like 1 or 2 first, I
Mhm.
could take the ball running from there.
So we'll put Glory Bell third for court and remove Tracy. And what was your other recommendation? That was it, yeah, 3, 4. We still need 1 CCP to put Glory Bell. Is there anyone else from the CCP that I don't have or Alexandria have that you would like to?
CCP,
Yeah, for the CCP members.
not the court. So not, court wouldn't count under there?
Well, Glory Bell's gonna take the court, so Tracy, but then we would want to give her 1 more. That would.
Oh, does district attorney does.
I thought you were gonna give me the ones that Marcus had, so I thought I was having district attorney and probation.
Oh, that's
You
right.
just mentioned.
And then, so we'll
Well,
put you, yeah, so I'm sorry, you're
Like-
right, I forgot already.
Okay.
A lot of name calling, so we'll put you where Marcus is on district attorney and probation, and then we'll list you as a third for the court, so we can remove Tracy from that one.
Yes.
Got it. Ooh, it's like
Does that
Tetris.
Give you 5?
Like, 5, yes.
That gives
Say
you
5.
And is the
for
third
district
person,
attorney,
5,
probation,
yes.
Joya, and Scales Preston.
Yep, that gives me 5.
You were feeling confident about that.
Yeah, I'm good.
okay. Got that, Gariana?
You got that?
Perfect, all right. Way to go, team, okay.
New team.
So what we're gonna do in terms of, now I gotta go back to the agenda item that we were on. Discuss and review the engagement and outreach plan. In terms of our priorities for 2025, do we feel like they fold into what was listed on the work plan for 2024? Are there things from 2024 that we need to remove? As our chair has pointed out, we don't have to necessarily keep them there because that was from 2024. I just thought it would be good to look at 2024 and 2025 to see what's ongoing that we may need to complete, and then where do we incorporate these new priorities. For like 2025, the priority of the ambassador early strategy calendar, I feel falls into the community outreach and some of the ongoing tasks for number 4.
Task force, agreed.
Okay. And then the other thing that we had on here was to prioritize external meetings and community outreach. I feel like that's with kind of embedded in task number 2 on the work plan. And number 1, because number 1 is around updating the presentation, which I know he did, but I think talking about the materials can be added to that discussion because there's been conversation about badges, papers, for us to have, and maybe a tablecloth.
I agree. I think, to me, the word presentation, it all falls under the word presentation.
Okay.
So while we're talking about the digital and our material presentations.
So it looks like our work plan is pretty from 2024 is pretty much the same, just with adding for task 4 that we're doing an early strategy and developing a calendar and including the materials under task 1. Should we, Nicole, establish a timeline based upon what's listed? Muted.
Sorry, I'm still on mute. Yes, I think it will be helpful to kind of, I mean, I know that there's unless the way the timeline is on this work plan is helpful to you all because the work plan should be included at every meeting going forward. And you should be checking checking on this document and mark off anything that is done. So if this is helpful in this manner, then you could just use this. Or if you want to create additional one, that'll be fine as well. Whatever is more easier for you all. I realize I was asking everyone to do timelines and it's in your work plan. So you do not have to.
Because I was gonna say, we can just update this and tweak it for 2025.
Right.
Because everything on here looks like it's ongoing anyway for this committee. We're just shifting some of it.
Correct. So the objective is to update your work plan. So make those obvious changes like from the 2024 work plan to 2025. Read through this document to ensure it aligns with what our goals are for 2025, and then make adjustments on things that you guys may feel that is not relevant anymore. I don't know if it fits in here somewhere, but based on our meeting that we had, ensuring that dates and times or any type of events is shared. So when you ladies do the ambassador meeting, once you have all of that information, we want to make sure that the full board knows to share those dates so I can put on that calendar. Did that make sense?
So does that mean, like, for example, outside of CAB, I'm in the process of hosting community events where CAB invited to table, which do I invite you and then have you disseminate?
Yeah, you send
Okay.
it to me and then I'll circulate it to the full body or subcommittee.
And then
You guys can go.
okay. So I can forward that information over to Garyana and guarantee a table. So then that would go forwarded to Nicole so that she could add it to the calendar?
Yeah, I don't know,
How does
Nicole,
that-
are you in charge of updating the calendar?
Yeah, I took that on, so I don't have to add anything more on to you. But I'll ping you. You can help. It doesn't. It's in the share drive. Everybody has access to it. So I mean, it's
You can put stuff on there.
Okay.
yeah. So I'm going to share it at the next CAB meeting. I just wanted to point like the ambassador, all those different things. We need to ensure that it's on that particular calendar. So I'll share that at the full board meeting. But something like that, yes, would go on the calendar. And when we schedule our ambassador meetings, those dates will go on the calendar.
Yeah, and Laura, just to answer your question, you are allowed to send things to Nicole because she doesn't sit on the OCEC subcommittee.
okay.
So doesn't have an issue with like quorum, so you can like send it to her or send it to me, whatever works best.
Okay,
We'll both have this information, so it'll be okay.
okay. And then with this, I'm assuming the same would apply when whether we're recruiting, the same thing. I answered my own question.
So is this template for the work plan used by all the committees? Or is this just created for OCEC?
I think this was Nicole.
It's all of them.
Okay,
Every subcommittee should have a work plan.
it looks like this.
Yes, they have their tasks, outcomes, time, and responsible person.
Okay, and responsible persons. So on this where it says all, that's all of the members in OCEC.
Correct.
Okay. So I do see something that we need to. So under the member cultivation, we will plan, develop, and schedule annual onboarding orientation training for new CAB members to be held in January of each calendar year. Brenda and ORJ are listed under that.
Oh, fine.
I'm sorry, task number 5.
So plan, development schedule.
Create, or is there already an existing one?
There,
Task number 5 is referring to the CAB retreat.
Right.
Okay.
So we can remove that. It's completed.
Well,
say
you
that
guys are
again?
responsible for, I think, the retreat
2026.
Every year.
Yeah. So it doesn't have to be Brenda necessarily as the responsible person, but it does have to be OCs.
I guess I'm trying to understand the document because it's listed under member cultivation as task number 5. And then similar task number 5 under community outreach. Coordinate the annual CAB retreat, design to orient both
Yeah.
new and, so there's 2, that's why I was like, so we could remove.
Yeah.
Oh. Good.
And I like that it's all and not one person and it's listed as ongoing. And so we know come November, we'll need to start planning for the retreat to happen in January.
is there an item on there? Because I see you talking back and forth. I think maybe they had a typo. I know there was an item that they were trying to work on in creating a process for onboarding, and it wasn't tied to the annual retreat. It's very small, so I'm sorry.
Well, see, that's where I think it's confusing because, I got
Oh,
it.
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
says
It
worded.
does says onboarding orientation training for new CAB members held in January. So that's where I'm confused because we also kind of get onboarding during the retreat.
So I think it's worded wrong. The goal is not on to be held in January. It was just supposed to be plan, develop, and schedule a process for onboarding. And because it's kind of like last year, like how you all came at the end of the year, people, we may not be able to wait to January. So we don't have if someone gets onboarded right now, like Brianna, what does that process look like? And what does that training process look like? So who is she supposed to get the information from? And it was assigned to OCEC. There was never nothing put in place. So I think that's what was meant by that. I can tell you what I do as chair, but there's really no process in place when we bring on a new member.
So, just so I can wrap my brain around and make sure that I'm understanding correctly. So do you mean like an orientation packet or something to say, this, you're gonna be expected to be on subcommittees, these are your options, this is this? Like everything I learned at the retreat, basically.
Yes. Yes.
This is what our past year looked like, this is, and then we could update it every year for the new incoming people.
Yeah.
And list like,
So it's a
three training you
simplified.
gotta complete, just like a
Yeah,
task, like a
simplified,
checkoff.
yeah,
Like,
checkoff
oh, these are
list.
the things you're gonna have to do in order to be part of CAP.
Right now, what it looks like is, of course, Garyana sends out her information regarding the trend. Well, you guys know what you get from Garyana, and then I may do one-on-ones and check in with you, but there really isn't like a process on when we take in new members mid-year. What does that look like?
Got it. Okay.
a
Thank you
walking
for
packet?
clarification. I like the idea of a task packet, of like a checklist. Okay. So that's something, is that something that we can,
And call a special meeting to meet this person to review that task packet we deal with them.
oh, because we would have quorum is what you're saying, yeah.
Have them join an already existing meeting, or would it?
Onboarding said to be something they do on their own, well, not on their own, because they'll still get the check-ins and all this.
Well, don't forget you can utilize other staff. So I also think of figuring out like how much the RJ does, how much I can't say the chair after me would do that, but how much do I put in with the new individuals? Maybe assigning certain things. You know, as a chair, I don't break quorum. So there's some things you all can't do that I took on to do because you can't break quorum. So it's more of a question on, since everyone is new right now, what would have helped you? My biggest thing is how do we, when we have a new member, how do we get them caught up with so much information at one time? They can't wait to January. So what can we give them mid-year or after our retreat to help them understand, like, you know, outside of reading the website, it's a lot of reading. What can we give that individual?
In a personal way. Rather than just I have to sit at home and read it.
Right, yeah. And I mean, we can table it if you all feel, if you don't feel like it's beneficial. It was just an item to think about because it was something that OCEC, we always send everybody back to OCEC and there was never a process in place. So it was just tabled in there, right? Like Alexandria, it was just something that was there.
No, it's a good point, but I think I would need to think through like how to streamline it so it's not a full retreat, but like a meeting of here's some documents, some homework, here's where we are, and then they'll get more information during the retreat. But I understand it now why it's important to do some onboarding. So it's just not an annual onboarding, it's really scheduling onboarding and orientation.
Yes, so I would take the annual out because it's whenever we get a new person.
Person, correct. And I don't
we
know
can
if it has to
schedule
be
that.
any January either. It would just be once an applicant is approved.
Mhm.
Okay.
Maybe not use the word schedule since it's based on who applies.
Yeah. I would think it would be more of who from OCEC, as people are coming onto the orientation, would help orient them.
Mhm.
And so maybe the task is we plan and develop onboarding orientation training for new members. And then as that come up, since members apply on an ongoing basis, we can rotate in the committee who can help onboard that person, because that way we don't violate quorum, and then it's not just one person doing it and everybody has an opportunity to do it. So we would just need to really look at planning it and developing an orientation. There's a couple of ways we can do that. We can add this to the agenda for March. In the meantime, we look over the stuff we got from the retreat and sort of pick out what we think is most important to start someone. And then maybe we can do some self-reflection on what would have been helpful to know immediately to get us up to speed, because we're all new, so we it's still fresh in our mind. And then we can have a further discussion at the March meeting. Does that sound like a good plan?
Mhm.
Okay.
Um, we're getting, I think, our next meeting, we're getting the list of recommendations from the previous year, correct?
These were the recommendations
These are the recommendation.
from 2024. Or when you say the recommendation.
I meant from, like, for the cab, like that we were. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. I think
No,
I'm
you're
saying
saying it right. It's supposed to be sent out to everybody for us to have reviewed it for coming up. Thank you for
for our
saying.
next meeting, right?
Yes, Garyana, adjust the full the full cab agenda to add that item on there if it's not.
Add what?
Oh, so you're saying once we do this, we still need to bring it to the board for review?
Yeah, so I think Laura is referring to the full cab recommendations.
Yes, so
Yeah.
that,
From policy and budget?
right,
No.
so,
What? No, so
wait.
at the last full board meeting, what I explained to them is that there's recommendations that are still available from the beginning of CAB that we have not looked at for a very long time.
Oh, I forgot about that, yes.
Yeah, so it's that
So-
pack. I don't know where Patrice has it, but there are recommendations that we have not reviewed that's just been sitting there.
Recommendations on how to onboard people specifically?
No,
Or just
I-
recommendations in general?
in general, so the person knows what they're walking into. You know
Ah,
what I mean? Just that,
mm.
hey, these are the things that we're gonna be discussing, so wrap your brain around it, so when you come to meetings, you're not lost, kind of thing, you know what I'm
you
saying?
want,
Okay.
you want all of them? Because it's a big pack. I think it's a lot of them. Is that,
This-
or you want the
Can we,
current?
just the current, we don't need to know everything, you know what I mean?
Oh,
Just
okay, then it
current.
would be the ones from last year. It'd just be the AB, it'd just be the one, the smaller packet thing, Gary. The ones from last
So
year.
we're not talking about the excess funds recommendations and the recommendations from policy and budget?
Yeah, we are.
Okay. So
Sorry, I
can
missed
send
the
those-
discussion.
And those are also, in the Google Drive. I can also make a.
Okay. I was saying maybe that would be something we would include in the welcome.
In the
packet,
welcome
yeah,
packet,
so that
yes.
people are just aware.
Got it. Sorry, I was like, prior year recommendations, but yes.
But to piggyback
Still
off
trying
of
to get the target down, so I'm sorry.
It's okay. We talk so much about the different stuff. I'm trying to keep up too.
but Gloria did bring up a valid point that I think we all forgot because it's been just too many moving parts. Was that document with the full recommendation that I do need all you guys to see? And I don't know if Kimmy told you about that, Garyana, was the new members have not seen all of CAB's recommendations that we have. There's about 20, I think it's like 20 of them.
So if we talk about those, can we I guess I need are these recommendations on, sorry, it's early. Let me fully articulate my thought before I start talking. Are these recommendations on what CAB do in the community or recommendations around
So the
specific subcommittee stuff?
no, so remember, so anytime you hear us say CAB recommendations, that's
Large
overall,
report.
that's a large report. So these are recommendations that we are giving to CCP on how to allocate the funding for AB 109. So throughout the years, all of our CABs have came up with recommendations, but we've just recently only been focused on a few. So I wanted to bring that all back to everybody. Any event, since we've already been working on these main, I guess, 5 priorities, take a look at take a look at the existing list to see if there's any other ones that we want to uplift or if any other ones tie into our priorities this year. Because no, you guys haven't seen them yet.
Understood. Thank you. So before, because I know we still have a full agenda and I'm watching the time. So regarding our work plan, we're gonna incorporate the 2025 priorities around the early strategy, the calendar, and prioritizing the meetings and the materials into items on the work plan. Let's say number 2.
Community Outreach Task 1.
Yes. Task 1, correct. We're gonna add that. Then task 4. So we'll update task 1 and task 4 to incorporate the 2025 priorities. And then we will, and one was also to create standardized interview questions and process that we'll review on March 10th. And then we're going to review the retreat materials for ideas and the prior recommendations list to develop or start developing an onboarding orientation training. We're going to review those and bring back our thoughts for our next meeting. Okay, perfect. Woo, I'm on it. All right, if there's no other items for discussion, and then I can access this work plan in the Google Drive to make those changes. Perfect. And then I will let you know by the 10th, you can add them in the agenda for everybody to review for the next meeting.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, I'm just trying to follow.
Check.
Chat, yes. Okay, so moving on to our next agenda item on our.
Wait, just to clarify, so if you wanted if you want your work to be reviewed by the full body, their meeting's on the 13th, and I would have to post by the 7th.
You basically need this next week. Okay. The work plan stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, got it.
And you'll be updating.
I'll be updating it as a chair. What we talked about.
Well, you guys can discuss amongst yourselves how you want to divvy up responsibilities, but
Okay.
somebody does provide a report out for the OCC subcommittee, and it doesn't have to be the chair, but it does, OCC does have to report out, which we gotta discuss at this meeting too. With the law. And that's like written and.
Written and verbal, and
Yeah.
that you would also need by the 7th, because you want to include that.
Yeah,
in.
in the, yeah.
I'm
But
trying-
there's a template for the report.
Yes, I remember looking at the template. Is there anyone who wants to take a stab at the template? Of developing creating the subcommittee report for the full CAB, if everybody wants to do that? Okay, I'll do that also.
It's really easy, you just say like the time, the date, and like high level highlights, like we discussed our work plan. We're going to be updating task 1 and 2, it's not, Nicole,
Are you talking about your report out?
yeah, we're talking about the report out.
That's the responsibility of your vice chair.
It falls on the chair.
Nope, your vice chair, the nice little young lady sitting over there in the.
Vice chair, okay.
And I need to have that in by the
Um,
7th, is it?
Yes, I post by the 2nd, so if you can have it by the 5th or the 6th, that'd be good. Which is
Oh,
any
like-
day or-
So Friday?
Yes.
Friday,
If I don't
before, yeah, any day before Friday.
And Gloria, I can show you a trick so you don't have to overthink it. I can show you how to, it's not that difficult to put together.
Okay.
I'll send you the template today, you'll be like, oh, that is just that.
Okay.
I
I overthink
promise.
stuff, so
Yeah.
I'll go last week.
Same.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So we are moving on to. We did our work plan number 5, number 6, discuss the ambassador guide. So part of this was also to include a timeline, a process, and key talking points. This was the guide that was worked on in 2024. I found it really helpful when I was doing the calls from folks. I know we need to update, we just previously updated the member assignments for review with the full board. We do need to update the program contact list. Yes. And in the ambassador guide, there's a sample email of how to like introduce yourself. There's tips for the effective meeting. There's a sample outline for framing the interviewing question. And then there are also talking points. These priorities that are listed, like priority 1, housing, and 2 were from 2024. So my understanding from the last meetings was updating this for talking points. I would like to, and I know all these documents are in a Google Drive, change the formatting so that all has the same font and it flows like a true guide. I would like to take on the formatting piece, but I know one of the things we talked about was how do we make this so that as new ambassadors get into their role and start making the phone calls, they know about the priority areas without having to keep updating the guide to include these talking points. So my thought is if we can include questions of like, or some sort of statement like, this is where you include the current priority that the cabinet is working on, reflect on the notes. So that way this is a standing document, and that's something that was my thought, but I'm curious on what the board was thinking, or if there's any feedback from the public about the ambassador guide. Some of the stuff is like really great in terms of identifying who's the lead, co-lead, what their small parts are. And I found it helpful when I sat through the calls, because I was like fresh in, I don't think I had like a full month that we were making calls, but going through it gave me context of why the calls were important. Who I was meeting with, what to say and talk about. And we didn't necessarily follow the script, but it was helpful to have their moments of silence to reflect on. Thank you for your feedback. We're also working on this particular priority. Can we get your thoughts on that? And then I know that there was also comments about Marcus, the previous chair, about maybe adding, and there's these tips for the ambassador meeting, but recognizing that we're meeting with elected officials and being mindful of that as we're taking notes and recording the conversation. So maybe providing tips on providing high level. This person said X, Y, and Z, and I was, because the notes that we're taking, like on page 37, is public record. And so there was concern about how we are documenting the meeting and just being mindful of what we're talking to shows. But other than that, that was my only thought, was just to streamline it so my planning is a little bit more streamlined.
And the priority.
And the priority areas.
Okay, so if I'm hearing you correctly, and tell me if I missed it, these priority areas are gonna be moving back and forth, especially with what Nicole just said, we may want to lift up some other recommendations later on. Okay, we got these going, what other ones we gonna pull from? So what you're saying is to not necessarily have them, or they could be there, but it says something that says the current priorities, so that this packet had on this page 32, has more, has a fuller list of the different priorities.
I would not, so I was suggesting not adding the priorities, but just telling the person reading the guide, refer to CAP priorities, because it's all listed on another document. And it was feeling redundant to just keep plopping it in here, because every year you're gonna keep having an update. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, okay.
Any thoughts from the public on that? Or any thoughts from other chair members?
Nope. Well, I'll say no for now. I got a feeling, that's my feedback. I got a feeling it's going to change. I urge you guys to, there's other documents I believe in the shared drive. This was just something that honestly I threw together last year due to the amount of people that changed. So you should be able to see the previous document. I would also say look at the previous year, because the way that this is formatted, it was only for last year, just so that we could have talking points for 2024. But the format for the previous years is a tad bit different. And I would dare to say that we can adjust it. This was something that one of our previous chairs put together as talking points to help us as CAB members. So, I guess the question is, do we still need it? How does the other CAB members feel about it? Do we need it to be this written out? Can it be simplified? And do we want to make it different? But that's where this document, in the past, CAB members wanted a script. And so so that's why this is put together. And if you can't find a shared drive, we can send it out to you. But 2023 looks different.
Yeah, I would like it simplified, but also encouraging the member to look up like the priority areas, because I feel like that helps members get more familiar with what we've done in CAB if it's not just listed. Because for me, I was confused when I saw it, because I was like, these are priorities, and then I learned, oh, the priorities changed. I thought they were static when I first looked at the document, and it was from being in meetings and learning that, no, these were just the current priorities. So that was why my thought was just to simplify this. I think it's a good guide overall. Because like I said, I didn't have an orientation, it wasn't time for that. And I know checking with you, but this gave me more context when I did making calls with folks.
And I don't want this, like I said, this was just something I just threw together at the last minute simply because you all needed something. So please take this outline as a grain of salt because it was thrown together. But I do think we should look at 2023. I think it can be simplified. For myself and my past experience, this guy just helped me stay on track. So I can definitely tell you from calls I've done, you really won't use it from page 1 to the end. It just kind of helped you make sure that I cover everything, did I miss anything? And it just kind of helped us stay to ensure that I think I like the fact that you all are coming up with questions, right? So we can completely revamp how this is structured if you all like. But definitely look at 2023 and get an idea of what that one looks like. But I open you all to, if you have a better idea of how this talking point can be presented for, especially with you all being new, I'm open for it.
Yeah, I do like it as an outline. Like I said, I found it.
I do too, and I think it's excellent. And I'm also hearing you say, go back and look at the other ones as well. I think thank you, this is excellent. It was very helpful to me because I was also, I think maybe like
Yeah.
very new, so I was like, okay, read. And it was right here. So thank you for throwing it together. I caught it, used it, but we can take your recommendation to go ahead and look back at 2023 and see what it may have looked like before, but just for the sake of doing so and see what different items are. This worked well for me. But I hear you.
No, it helped me. My first time, I was scared on my first call. So it helped me just ensure that I didn't miss anything, but definitely depending on who you're talking about, they steal the show. They will have a whole full different conversation with you, and it's just to be able to go back and go, okay, did I hit all these priorities? Because you can have one script to go one way, and then depending on the person you're assigned to, they already have their own agenda.
So similar to what you were saying, you actually answered a lot of what, because I was confused, okay, it's static. Like, are these the questions that we have to, so what I'm hearing is our responsibility would be to make it more of a template, will be plug and play what the current, agendas will be in talking to, because I'm sure the conversations are going to be very different with the,
Agencies versus
agencies,
supervisors. Yes.
So I mean, it feels like people's first, but, so I see them won't. That's like. Whatnot, will these be what we pull off of the board set on the start? And our points of
Priorities.
is that what's gonna be plug and play in here?
That's my suggestion, one of my suggestions to, instead of listing it, make a reference to, please refer to your current CABs priorities. So that the person reading this knows, oh, these aren't it. I need to look back at what the current priorities are. Yeah, and that's part of like the simplifying it. I'm not gonna say I will work on this by the next meeting, but I would like it to be like a standing item so that we can check in about changes and suggestions. I know it's in the drive, correct? So we can all look at it. I know we can all make changes on the drive, but I'm wondering, and help me understand this, we can't download it from there and make our own changes and then share them out.
Like a separate version.
Separate versions, because then it gets messy if everybody's comments.
Yeah, I guess I guess you could do that way if you had like assigned section, so then nobody would touch the section that you're working on, then you would just change the section that somebody occupies. So let's, because I think they did it that way last year, where they just picking up each
Parts of it,
section of the
okay.
master guide and that subcommittee, and then when they came back to the meeting, they had their section already complete, and then we just compiled it.
That's what you, yeah, because I don't think I had joined the committee yet. Go ahead, Nicole, you have a comment?
No, I was just going to piggyback off of Garyana, when we was in policy and budget, on what she just said. But both ways worked. Also within the shared drive, we assigned certain areas, so we knew not to touch. So we assigned who was going to do what. And then we added like the comment feature and things like that to be able to add those comments so RJ can watch there. But that's how we ensured that we didn't double our make a mess in the shared drive. We ensured that we signed certain areas that you will only touch and work on. And that was very helpful. But also assigning and bringing it back and giving it to Garyana from to put it together, that worked as well. But it depends on what you're working on, because when we have to do if it's has a time crunch on it, being in that live document helped a lot easier to get things done before we came back.
So, in the interest of time, because I know we're running for like a minute before we're supposed to end, I'm wondering if the group would like to fully review this, because I know you need time to absorb it and adjust it. And then the recommendation from our CAP chair is to review the guide from 2023, so that when we meet in March, we've looked at both documents, and in our March meeting, we can divvy up the plan. If that's what we can do, and then we'll just have this stay on the agenda as we continue to work on the guide. Okay. And we don't need to motion on that, because yeah, that's fine. Perfect. All right, we have reached the end of our agenda. Perfect. Is there any other thoughts, comments on the items listed here? All right. So we will conclude the meeting at 12:30. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, ladies. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.